This is one of my favorite shots because you can see Table Rock and Hawkbill and Grandfather Mountain all in the same shot. Again, this is downtown, and this is some of the signage that we've been putting up around interstates and on Highway 181. And I want to talk about art in Morganton because we are becoming an art center, and it's real critical, I think, to keep up the progress of art. And we agreed that downtown Morganton and Morganton in general is a work of art. So we have this much arts in Morganton: the Morganton Cultural Arts Commission, the Burke Arts Council, the Old School Studio, which is called TOSS. We have art at City Hall. We have a community appearance advisory, and we just have plain old artists. So we do have a lot of artwork. Deb Jones, you do a great job with the Burke Arts Council. The Cultural Arts Commission was established in 2020. There were 3 projects to be commissioned. And last year, we actually did music on the porch. And so on Lenore Street and Avery Avenue, we had local musicians who would actually set up their banjo or their fiddle or whatever and have music on the porch. We hope to do that again with about 20 or 25 artists, musical artists, and people just really enjoyed. One started at 9:30, one at 10, one at 10:30. You can just walk the streets and hear this music. Most of the musicians really want to play again for the public, and this was a chance for them to get out, especially after COVID, and perform, even if it's just for 30 minutes or an hour. We had a Fire and Ice exhibition on November the 19th. I'll cover that. And then a mural with TOSS. Again, this is one of my favorite murals on Food Matters. Elena has been here several times in Morganton and working with TOSS, and it just adds a lot of color to our town. This is the Burke Arts Council, and Deb, you did a great job on that. I was kind of confused until I stopped and looked at it with the hands on the right, knitting and threading a needle on the left, and all the different colors and different ethnic groups in this group. It's just a great mural, Debbie. Thanks so much for that addition to Morganton. The Performing Arts Center, many people kept asking us, what's that big brick building up on top of the hill? And we finally decided to put up comma on there with the theater and the Performing Arts Council. And so it really does shine. And we've got great plans for comma. We're having several public meetings on how to bring comma up to date. It's been a while since it's been updated. We're going to change the seating arrangements. We're going to add a venue. We're going to include more loading docks so the shows can get in and out. And those plans are forthcoming. For comma in 21 and 22, we had 280 different zip codes, 53 different events. Over 19,000 people attended, and we had our first summer theater with 37 kids. We really want to keep up the arts and the performing arts in Morganton. This is really not art, but Robert Patton has been real instrumental in getting the crossing. This is down at the Old Judges, and this is where the Revolutionary War heroes crossed the river, headed to Kings Mountain. It is a piece of art, and you see the big rock. They wanted a big rock to put it on. The first big rock actually broke when they set it on the ground, so they had to go get another big rock. It was an interesting 2 days trying to get this rock placed and then a plaque put on. But they will have the river crossing again this October if you want to cross the river with the men and women who are portraying the Revolutionary War heroes. They will fire the guns, and it's a real good experience to have in October. Murphy's Farm. This was a proposal by a developer out of Greenville, South Carolina. This was their plan. That's what it was to look like in the schematic drawings. 240 apartments, 8 different buildings with 30 apartments in each building. And they bought the property from Western Piedmont Community College. Western Piedmont had some land, and the developer wanted it, and we worked out a deal with the college and the trustees to sell the property to them. This group had to also buy some property from Broughton Hospital, but most of the land came from Western Piedmont Community College. These are the old barns and the cattle barns and the pig barns. Those who've been here a long time remember there used to be pigs and cows and everything out at the farm. And this was, we asked that they would leave the silos, and they decided that would be a part of their project. This is when the site's been cleared. Most of the stuff has been removed. These are the 8 units under construction. They finished actually ahead of time, Jerry, and that's pretty remarkable considering the supply shortage of materials and stuff. They actually finished a month and a half ahead of time. Here they're getting ready for all the landscaping. You can see the NCSSM tower, water tower there. Finally got the curb and guttering in place, and this is what it looks like now. It's really nice. Now, the silo on the left is the women's bathroom, and the silo on the right is the men's bathroom. It's a real unique situation. If you ever get a chance to go, they did a fantastic job with the decorations on the inside. This is the community area inside for the local residents to have meetings, gatherings. They had their open house there. Fireplace in the rear there. On the other side of the fireplace is a workout area and gym for those people who live there. Oops. Chad, what to do? This is an interior view, I think, of the one-bedroom apartment. So they did a great job, and I understand it is completely full. The community college decided we had $2 million from the sale of the land that we really needed a skilled trade center. This is heating, air conditioning, plumbing, welding, all the skilled trades. And Western Piedmont met with the other surrounding community colleges and said, we're going to build an $8 million building. If you want to send your students to do the welding and the plumbing and everything, we're going to build the building. We would love to have them. What will happen is, they're getting ready to put up exterior walls. This, they're putting the roof on. And this is what it's going to look like when they get finished. And they will literally build a small house inside that building and take it out on a trailer. Because you can teach somebody to nail a board, but when you start putting walls together and running electrical conduit, it really makes a difference if they're getting what they need when you go out in the real world. But that's what the building will look like when finished. There's our new substation. That's NCSSM's water tower in the back. And if you look to the right, in the middle of those pictures, you see something that looks like rusty pieces of material there. Those are our suicide squirrel guards. Once the squirrel hits those, they get pretty well fried. So we wanted to put those on. This substation replaces the one behind Case Farms, or the old breeding plant, which was built about the same time that Benjamin Franklin discovered electricity. It was almost 100 years old. And so this new substation could service almost all of Morganton when it's online fully. So we're excited about the new substation. This is the former Alpine 7 or Drexel 7 that was in disrepair. Most of the people who've lived here a while remember how it looked and how it needed to be renovated. And so it was taken, renovated, I believe 52 or 53 apartments inside. And the other part of it, the final section of the project is finished. I'm not sure that it's been rented yet, but they've got that finished across from Roses. So that's another part of coming into Morganton and seeing a space that really looks nice. This is Goodwin Hall before NCSSM when the School for the Deaf had it. And this is after renovations. That's where the school administration is. And we've got Haven here from School of Science and Math, and they did a great job with the renovations. This is the NCSD barn, and this is the NCSSM barn. And we were concerned that they might not use it, but they've taken it and made a great venue. This is the venue inside with their first concert. The students over there in their first 120 days, they formed a concert band, a rock band, a choir, and a jazz band. Pretty amazing for those 150 students who are in Morganton now. This is the seating. They've got balcony seating, and nothing is fixed in place. So if you need round tables, you can put round tables in. You can set up your own setup, and the project really turned out well. And they decided if we want to have receptions, they built a little reception area on the back of the barn, so you could have a reception for any events, which really turned out well. Jonesboro Dedication. This is Morganton's historic black neighborhood, and for years people have wanted us to recognize that. This is only the second historical monument in Morganton that Morganton's put up. And again, they had their own hardware store, their own grocery store. It was a neighborhood for the black community from 1895 to 1935, and we finally got a historical designation for that part of Morganton. So we're really excited to finally get that. There's several groups of individuals that wanted to name it. A couple of churches had their words they wanted to put in. The NAACP wanted to word it a different way. So we finally had to work for about 6 months, Andy, to try and get the right wording for the sign. We sent the sign off. It came back with some letters misspelled. And so we had to send it back. We finally got it done last summer and got it in place. Parks and Recreation, we have 13 parks and 2 centers, which is College Street and Mountain View. And people say, what are you doing in recreation? We really have everything from A to Z, the aquatic center to a zip line. And we just have an outstanding recreation department. It's probably our biggest department. We have baseball tournaments, softball tournaments, Spooky Meadows, youth baseball, t-ball, youth softball, soccer, adult softball, sand volleyball, the JAMS program, which is a music program, and summer camp with 23 kids. So our recreation department really does a great job keeping up with all the events, especially with the tournaments. Those of you may remember 2 years ago when all the tournaments were canceled, the girls or women's softball could have no tournaments. They had practiced all year and couldn't have tournaments. But Rob Winkler, our recreation director at that time, developed a system where they could sit outside the outfield fence and still meet the COVID requirements. They couldn't sit in the bleachers together. And we had the only female tournaments, softball tournaments, in North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, and Tennessee. They all came every weekend for their tournaments. It really was a big hit. They enjoyed it because they felt like they needed a chance to show off. Our skate park, which we built several years ago, thus far we've had no fatalities. So we've always been concerned about how reckless some of this fellow almost crashed, but he was able to maintain. And we've saved you can see the dirt in the back. If we ever want to expand and build another park, when we built the park, we gave a chance for 60 kids to come together and say, we've got 5 different designs. You get to pick, you get to choose what you want your skate park to look like. This is what they've chosen. It's an Eastern skate park. And Rich, I didn't know there was such a thing as an Eastern skate park and a Western skate park. So we get this park built. Tony Hawk gave us some money to finish it. And so the first week they said, this is really nice, but we want a Western park. So we've saved some land to build a Western park. I think those skate parks have steeper slopes, or I'm not sure what it is, but we do have expansion plans if we ever build an addition. Carolina Pétanque, this is, for those of you who know what bocce is, this is the French version of bocce. You toss the ball, you can see a little ping pong ball in the middle of the screen there, and try to roll your ball there. The people who won that tournament last year went to France to compete in the international tournament. And the people we're having the men's doubles this year, and whoever wins the men's double when we have the tournament in April will actually go to Africa to represent the United States. That national tournament's going to be held in Morganton. So it really is a unique sport. Those courts are behind the soccer fields. We have 2 new soccer fields, which we expanded because we couldn't have youth soccer. We only had 4 soccer fields, and you can't have a youth tournament soccer tournament unless you have 6 fields. So we decided to add 2 so our students wouldn't have to travel to Greensboro and Charlotte to have tournaments. They could have our tournaments here in Morganton. Martha's Park, it's so well used, we had to actually replace some of the mechanics inside the fountain. We added new rides and new exhibits there. And we went ahead and put a splash pad at Martin Luther King Park because Martha's Park is so crowded and kids weren't being able to, it was just crowded. They couldn't use the splash pad. So we put another splash pad at Martin Luther King Park. Bethel Park water issue. Those who've tried to go to Bethel Park after a rain usually have to take water wings. So this is not a great picture of the water, but it is standing in water if we have any kind of precipitation. And so we have taken that on as a project starting this year, and we have to redirect the creek, actually 2 creeks, and we're waiting on the state to give us permission for that. This is what it'll probably cost. This is the money I already received from Parks and Recreation Trust Fund, the Land and Water Fund, Golden Leaf Fund, and some Land and Water Fund, which is restricted. We have to use that for certain things. We can't use it just for general purposes in the park. Bethel Park is supposed to have that. We're going to make the trail will have to be shortened somewhat because we're going to have to move the creek banks. So that's the plan, and we'd like to have pickleball courts there because that seems to be the sport that's coming. And it's our 2nd or 3rd most used park. So we had a new statue or monument come to Morganton recently, and that's the KIA statue. Did not cost the city anything. The veterans raised all the money. They even include 9/11, which is Eric Cranford, who was killed in the 9/11 attack. Lots and lots of work went into this from World War I, World War II, the Korean War, Vietnam War, and in the Middle East. So they have done a great job, and it really is an asset to our courthouse. If you have a chance, you really need to see that. Our bridge crew comes in and helps us decorate. The restaurants are open. Some of them are suffering from staff shortages, but this is a group that right after it opened, everybody loved to eat outside and caught this one in action. And new businesses. I did not know we had 3 axe throwing businesses in Morganton. And this is a close call. Of course, with my cat-like reflexes, they missed me, but we have 3 of them in Morganton. So if you want to throw an axe, you've got plenty of opportunities in Morganton. And it really are some new businesses that have come to town. This is Unix, which is a bottled water corporation, and it took over the old Table Rock Water. This is the day they opened the main plant, and then they've actually expanded to the business park, and there's going to be a 500,000 square foot storage unit up at the business park. This is the venue, a new business out across from Carbon City Fire Station. They have a patio. You can have wedding receptions. And we just have a lot of unique businesses. I'd like to brag on Gersheimer, which is a German glass company, and they've just announced a $100 million expansion with 100 new employees. They're going to be making the vials for COVID, the glass vials here in Morganton, I think for all the United States. So that will be production here in Morganton. Really a real blessing for us. Gersheimer is down there, Tractor Supply. I did it again. Let's see. Okay, courthouse gets ready. That's been our biggest project. I think I just lost the sound. Let's see. I'll talk louder. Courthouse renovation. This is when we actually started digging. We had to move a lot of dirt. Some students, as I was standing here, asked me, what are you looking for? What are you digging, Randall? They kept saying, what are you trying to look for? And I said, well, we're looking for Jimmy Hoffa. And they wanted to know who Jimmy Hoffa was. We did it again. We want to know who Jimmy Hoffa was, and I told him he pitched for the New York Yankees. Once we got it finished, we had to decide exactly how to slope. We had a great design team that came out of Winston-Salem. This is almost finished, of course. There's still some gardens part that are not finished in this, but we decided we really wanted to use it as much as we could. This is the Mandala. The Burke County Board of Realtors decided they wanted to add a feature. When the Buddhist monks came in 2019, they developed this Mandala. In the middle part of it, you see the arrowheads. That represents the National Park Service in Burke County. Beside it, you see the yellow arrowheads. Those represent the Native Americans. You have 13 stars around that. Once you get past the stars, you barely can see the canoes in dark red there. You've got the 3-pronged trillium, which represents the Fonta Flora. The yellow symbols are representative of our Morganton Festival. You've got the gold leaves, which represent the Fonta Flora Trail. You've got the fishing, which represents the lake. And then the mountains are the purple, which is Table Rock and Short Off. And so the other part that you can barely see on the top right-hand corner is the word north. In Morganton, years ago, there are 2 stones, one on the north side of the courthouse and one on the south side of the courthouse. And they represent a north meridian. And the two stones, they're about this big, about this tall. And people just did not know what those were for. But what those are for is, years ago, all surveyors had to come to Morganton if they wanted to do survey in Burke County. And they would line up their instruments for true north, because you always wanted accurate measurements when you're surveying. To my knowledge, this is the only two stones left at any courthouse in North Carolina. And we decided to put a big concrete thing that says true north so that people could actually see that. It's really a historic feature at our courthouse that most people just did not know what's going on. Okay, so we got a little sod and grass, and immediately people started having classes and getting back on the courthouse after we took the fence down. We got ready for our Friday night concerts. And Judy Willis was actually chairing our renovation project. And the night we had opening night, she was just absolutely thrilled that we finally, after months and months and lots of shortages in supplies, we finally got it open. The crowd was tremendous, only standing room only. We worried a little bit about our chairs. They're not anchored or chained down, and we thought, well, somebody could carry them off. They're pretty heavy, but we wanted to leave it so that if a group wanted to gather, they wouldn't be fixed. They could move it any way they want to. And thus far, to my knowledge, we've not lost any chairs, which is great. We have several competitions at the courthouse. This is the MAID competition, which is an engineering competition between high school and junior high schools, sponsored by Continental, Econoris, and Leviton. And their first competition, they had to take cardboard and make a chair that would hold 250 pounds. You could make any design you wanted. So the students are given the chance to put this together. They spend all afternoon and competing against each other. It really is a great way for them, number one, to enjoy being outside, and number two, bringing creative skills to an engineering process. The second year, I believe they had to design a robot which would go upstairs, pick up a tennis ball and drop it into a bucket. And so the deaf school actually participates, all the junior highs participate, and all the high schools participate. It's a great competition. Halloween on the Square, this is Abby, our downtown, and we got to have a great Halloween session. And then Chief Wiston is our new police chief. I'm not sure what it says, Kathy. I've been mayor 8 years, and we've had about 4 different police chiefs. I'm not sure what that says, but Chief Wiston has come up through the ranks, and he's a great chief. And the Industrial Commons, those who've lived here a while know where Drexel 3 and Drexel 5 are on the bypass. When you leave Roses and head towards the Outreach Center, all that property, which has been standing for years and years, and is vacant and growing up in weeds, that's going to be the Industrial Commons. And the Industrial Commons is a group of women and others which got together to help form businesses, and almost like an incubator, so that if you want to start a business, you could meet with them and they would come up with a design. This is actually the design. On the right is going to be the warehouse and the actual work area. On the left at the top is going to be the housing for those people who actually be working at the Industrial Commons. It's really a unique project. This is, you can see the curve as you leave Roses and go around the curve. That tells you exactly where it is in Morganton. They've developed 5 different enterprises and brought in $32 million already, just at the Industrial Commons. And whether you want to do a recycling project, and this is going to be, they've got it set up that the big trucks can come in. On the bottom is going to be a park for people who are working at Industrial Commons can enjoy. They're going to have a walking trail. It really is going to be a unique design. You can see the railroad track that goes above it. And then this is going to be the housing. The housing on the left are going to be single-family houses. On the right side of it are going to be apartments. But they will actually live there, can walk across the railroad track and get to the Industrial Commons. Really, you're going to hear a lot about it. They have raised a bunch of money. They're going to be in the neighborhood of $40 million to build this project, and they are really working hard and obviously are doing a great job. I want to talk about sales and use tax. People ask, why shop in Burke? Why not go to Hickory or go to Lenore, for God forbid, Helen, and spend money over there? this is why it's so important, especially for the small towns. As you can see, let's take Rutherford College down here. They collect sales tax of $441,000. Their ad valorem tax, that's taxes on your property, is only $151,000. So if they didn't have any sales tax, they would have to increase their sales tax, their ad valorem tax almost 4 times just to keep their budget. So it's real critical, especially the smaller towns. Of course, Morganton gets $6 million in sales tax, and our ad valorem tax is $9 million. But Conley Springs, their ad valorem tax only $61,000. They get $546,000 in sales tax. So it really is that sales tax does make a difference. That's why our Morganton Heights and the Walmart store out there really, that group out there really drives our sales tax. And so we're really excited, even small businesses. Glen Alpine, they get $500, twice the amount they get from ad valorem taxes. So it really is critical, and people just think my sales tax, my ad valorem taxes pays for everything, and that's not true at all. You can tell it takes a lot of money, and sales tax does come in handy to make all the municipalities work. The finished works we've done, Delivery 7, that's the electric plant, cost $4 million. We spent about $3 million at the courthouse square. Our Greenway connector, which is right across from the senior center, $1.8 million, and we've had 6 economic agreements on building reuse, which made 400 jobs. So we've really been working hard to get these finished projects, and these are works in progress. College Street project, which is $3.2 million, a Silver Creek lift station, the water plant upgrades, the street resurfacing. We normally spend about $200,000 a year for street resurfacing. This year we're going to spend 4 years worth of money to try and get our streets back up to good condition. The Mountain View Recreation floor is going to cost $160,000, and our Boston Road sewer is $4 million. And Dogwood Trust has given us $1.7 million for that sewer project. If you don't keep up your sewer and you flush and it goes nowhere, then you've got problems. So it really does make a difference of how you spend your money, and people don't think about that you put money in the dirt for lift stations and sewer projects. So we've got a lot of progress, works in progress, or soon to be, and this is the way I feel sometimes, because I came, I saw, I forgot what I was doing, I retraced my steps, got distracted on my way back, have no idea what's going on, and now I have to pee. And sometimes that's the way it is when you've got so many projects going on, and our city manager, assistant manager, Rob Winkler, who's handling our projects, we've got up to 110 units, we hope, in the downtown district, housing units coming on Meeting Street and East Union Street. We're excited about that project as it's coming along. We have some substandard housing that we're really trying to work on and bring up to standard. We have a lot of work to do with our housing. And of course, when we got ready for our Winter Festival, finally we can have a Winter Festival on the square. Pretty chilly that night, and so we got all the decorations that have been in storage for about 3 years. We had Santa Claus there. This dog was a little scared once he saw Santa Claus, but he came over it. We had an ice sculpture, and then we had an ice slide. They froze and kids would slide down on the ice. Got a brand new Christmas tree. Our other Christmas tree was not looking real good, and so we decided to go with a newer Christmas tree. And this is the fire and ice artwork that was developed during the Winter Festival. And that's an ice cube with wood inside, and they lit it on fire. That's the fire and ice that I was talking about earlier. So lots of events were going on in Morganton, and then the moon rises over and we start another day.